this is something that is worth it. In a way, say, Mavis proved she was awesome. Many times when she proves she's awesome, she's always, well, diminished in a little comedic, all bit sense. But here, she actually managed to fool the enchantress, this Scarlet Despair, Irene. Not even Irene saw this coming until after Seraph told her. Noticeably, Irene is of course pissed, so I think she's gonna not heed what Seraph says. Because, well, she's Irene. But I don't know how long we have to wait before she gets her ass kicked, because I hope she will. Either way, hi for those who are watching. It's me, the Angry Anime Fan, the Despair Reviewer, to bring you the little summary about the Fairy Tail chapter 502 that we actually got early. And it's a chapter that's a mixture of some awesome moments, but also a hint towards a very big despair. As I said in the beginning, Eileen got tricked, and the reason for that through an illusion. And as Seraph appeared, Seraph said he wanted to have some final words to Irene. And Irene just feels that is foolish. And the one who says to break off in that argument is actually Seraph, who appears back again. And apparently so, one of the reasons why it took so long for Irene to detach is because, well, the Mavis was an illusion too. Which means that Invel was indeed defeated and the Ice Slave was gone. So noticeably, Irene is pissed off and decides to chase after Mavis, who is currently fleeing from the guild, much to her shame, but got rescued by none other than Mest. Well, last time we saw Mest, he did something very disgraceful. So, and it's maybe noticeable that in this manga, he actually have some regrets for that disgraceful behavior. Elsewhere, Droy and Jet, the two guys, I actually do not mind dying. Or having a hard time, but the one who saves them is none other than Gajevy, who, despite saying that, despite the fact that he is for everything he seeing that he got a second chance in life, he's gonna protect his buddies, even though those two are the most annoying people Gajevy meet. And I agree. And it's changed. It seems very likely that Gajevy has changed now that he came back from the realm of the dead. Well, he didn't really die, but he had a very close encounter with it. As much as you want to deny it, he did have a close encounter with it. And so suddenly Levi sees Gajevy, and of course she answers, "We're happy to see him again," with a kick on his face. But then on top of him, crying happy tears of joy, saying, "You're gonna take me back to the guild, so you better keep your words." I mean, that's actually expected out of Levi. Levi is not a tsundere, but she is a tsundere to her love interest. What's that? Is that a type B? But, you know, when I was picturing the reunion, I was picturing one other scene, which I hoped had happened more, but this is fairy tale, it can't happen that often. And that would be that maybe that she would indeed hurt Gajevy, but not this badly. And then suddenly Gajevy would take her face and then kiss her, saying, "Just say that you're happy to see me, you idiot." But that wouldn't happen. But Gajevy has a little bit changed, and he is indeed happy to see them. It's during that, but Sarah, who guided them here, is beginning to get transparent because Mavis' consciousness and her memory is returning. So, but she gives her hopes to the Fairytale gang, having reunite Gajevy with Levi, and is very certain that Mavis will find a way to do it. And suddenly, as Mavis remembers Sarah, they meet up in an illusional world, of course naked, and where they do a headbutt of love and saying that now we are two and one again, and believe in fairytale as you will believe in me. And Panther Lily is also wanting to hear the story of the origin of Fairy Tail. And it seems very likely that Mest is gonna admit he did something very terrible, but he doesn't have the time to do that, because now Mavis seems ready to take back her home again. And finally, this chapter ends in despair as Dimara has dragged Natsu and Lucy to, well, not a dungeon, but to I was gonna say shackle, but I mean a hut that looks like a dungeon, where she has bound them with many things. Strangely enough, it doesn't look she has tortured her very much. I mean, Lucy's covered in bruises, but it's not exactly like she's been tortured. But she does do some psychological torture, like continues screaming that you were the one who killed Brandish, or Randy as she calls her. Well, that's very much a hypocrite. But the chapter ends in despair as Portia Lucia appears again and finds Brandish. Brandish is still alive, but this is not just some miracle teaching. She is badly wounded. But according to Porlushika, I mean, I cannot pronounce her name, it turns out that a very big despair awaits us, especially the good side, because according to Porly, she's guided by Ever for some strange reason. The tumor that Brandish shrunk was not an anti-ethernal tumor at all. According to Porly, it's something much, much worse. And given the title of the next chapter, The Last Sight I Beheld, it doesn't sound like that it's gonna bring hope. So you tell me she managed to figure out something? I mean, don't get me wrong, I am very, very, very glad that it's not an anti-ethernal tumor. Why? Because Fairy Tail have pulled off many insane magic moments, so that anti-ethernal tumor doesn't make any sense to me, even for a fanatic Fairy Tail fan like me. But according to Porlu, they do exist, so I don't see why Fairy Tail hasn't gotten that yet. But I guess that's very similar to why do Akaseram only curse a certain amount of people? Because that's something I want to have answered in this manga, but I have a feeling it's never going to be answered. Why do Akaseram curse only a certain amount of people? There are many others who break many different taboos. Well, that's another story. A tumor, or something that is much, much worse, is that a hint towards END? Well, if it is, then Dimara is dead. But so is the last hope of having our friend Natsu with us, as Gray is just gonna be consumed with rage again, if he hasn't already. But they need to remove that, whatever it is. But Dimara has Lucy and Natsu on her, and they're both tied up. And Dimara has her sword pointed towards Natsu's neck. So whatever next chapter is gonna say, it's clearly that is something despair. I mean, it almost sounds like someone is going to die, but this is Fairy Tail, and as we have seen many times these last few chapters, no one really dies. But at the same time, when someone comes back, they always stay very short. For example, Sarah, she came back, but she's already gone. Who wonders? But all in all, it had some heartwarming moments, especially that, or maybe the Levi and Gajel reunion. Gajel seems to have changed a little, which is all good. Again, I don't mind if Dro and Jet die, but I know they're not going to die. And also, Mavis tricked Irene. That was very satisfying. She has been all arrogant before now. But I have a feeling something very bad is gonna happen. So, who is gonna see the last sight? Is that a Natsu's END, or is that Makarov who's gonna say that? Whoever it is, who knows? Give me your thoughts if you have any.